How the youth can get their due. A rich, prosperous India should be every Indian's dream. I went to a restaurant once where a waiter, a young boy of 22, gave me the best service. It wasn't a particularly upscale establishment, but the waiter spoke perfect English. He kept a smile through his grueling job. People gave him customizations on every order. He listened with patience and kept track. He had a good IQ and had completed his graduation. This was the best job he could find. His salary 8,000 a month in Mumbai. That is $120 a month, more than half of which would go in renting a shared room or an hour's commute away. It broke my heart, and not for the first time. I have met over the past few years hundreds of talented, well-qualified youngsters across India who do not have the kinds of jobs they deserve and are capable of. I could not enjoy my meal, wondering what did this kid do wrong. Why was his monthly salary lower than one day's minimum wage in the US? You see them everywhere. They help you try on t-shirts in a posh store. They man the cash counters in food courts of swish malls. They pick up the phone when you dial call centers. The typical profile is a youth from small town India whose parents spend their life savings educating him or her, and is the best job the youth could find. With the same qualifications and same amount of work, they could make much more abroad. Why is it that we can't give them the same opportunity? These millions of youths across the nation drive my politics. Unfortunately, the kind of politics we have practiced and the governments that have resulted have ensured that we suffocate the clients of an entire generation. We have spent our time arguing who is secular and who is not, who cares for the Dalits better, who is the beacon of goodness and who is absolute evil. Of course, much of this is nonsense. No one community in India can uplift itself much until the country as a whole rises. Teaching each other a lesson for historical wrongs is not going to help the youth get their due. Also, there is no party that is completely clean and pure, as it is impossible to run politics like that, even if not monetarily corrupt. All parties make fake promises to poor people that they know they cannot fulfill. Still, we waste so much time discussing what is inconclusive and irrelevant. Switch on political reviews on television and you will see nothing but attacks. Counterattacks and charges. In all this, how do the youth get their due? Well, they can if they realize their power and begin to vote on the right issues. The number one issue right now is economy. If we don't grow at 10% per year, we will not be able to provide enough jobs for the youth. Without sufficient growth, we will also not have enough tax revenues to pay for all the infrastructure projects, healthcare and education the country needs to spend on. Money, even though considered morally inferior on the priority list for people to aspire towards, is extremely important for India. We are a poor country. Poor countries cannot do much for their citizens. It's as simple as that. So we either keep ourselves poor and scramble for whatever little we have, or we grow the pie. Becoming a rich country has other advantages. People have a higher standard of living, corruption generally declines in rich countries, education and healthcare quality improves, more liberal thought process set in, at least in rich democracies, issues like communalism and racism decline. Therefore, should we not set aside our other differences and make all efforts to make India rich for the next 30 years? Note that 10% growth for 30 years will make the average income rise 17 times. If we grow at 5% or so, it will rise just 4 times. There is a huge difference in what India can become in our lifetime if we manage our economy properly. So, how does one grow at 10%? Well, these are ingredients. First, a stable, action-oriented government. Second, a pro-business economic mindset with reduced government controls in most sectors. Third, a tangible but highly critical element called investor confidence, which means investors are willing to put their money in India and hope to make a return from it. Restoring India to its growth path is the single biggest issue. This is not to say that other issues are not important. However, without a strong economy, none of the other good stuff happens. A rich, prosperous India should be every Indian's dream. Only then will we be able to give the youth their due. How the youth can get their due. A rich, prosperous India should be every Indian's dream. I went to a restaurant once where a waiter, a young boy of 22, gave me the best service. It wasn't a particularly upscale establishment, but the waiter spoke perfect English. He kept a smile through his grueling job. People gave him customizations on every order. He listened with patience and kept track. He had a good IQ and had completed his graduation. This was the best job he could find. His salary $8,000 a month in Mumbai. That is $120 a month, more than half of which would go in renting a shared room or an hour's commute